From the Duke to the Elite, Microsoft has designed a wide range of controllers for the Xbox, but they all have one thing in common. They're built for players with two hands. And the latest controller from Xbox totally changes this script. It's built for players with one hand, no hands, or lack of fine motor control. This is the Xbox Adaptive Controller. Microsoft estimates there are over 1 billion people around the world living with disabilities. This controller was made for them. It looks nothing like a traditional gamepad. The Xbox Adaptive Controller is an 11-inch long, 6-inch wide rectangle. But the backside is where all the magic really happens. Alongside the back are 19 3.5mm ports. And these are every button on an Xbox controller. This allows people with disabilities to plug in their existing adaptive controllers, the existing products that they've sometimes made themselves in their homes to play video games. On top of the 19 inputs alongside the back, there are 2 USB ports on either side of the controller, and it's wireless, it has Bluetooth functionalities, and it has a battery chargeable up to 25 hours. The Xbox Adaptive Controller is a plug-and-play option for people with disabilities. It boots up, it hooks up to the Xbox just like a traditional gamepad does, and it works automatically. You can unplug your controllers without pausing the game, totally changing your configuration as you go. I never would have thought to play Forza with one hand. I've never had to think about that, but you can. And people, like before this, you would need, a bunch of different cords and a bunch of different setups, and you'd have to make sure everything actually worked with the console. And that seems to be a big problem, is just getting those homemade or hodgepodge tools to work. So this could be just the hub for everything. You don't even have to necessarily use it. A lot of the controller's design has nothing to do with high tech. It's actually all about comfort and usability. It has rounded edges, allowing players to comfortably rest their hands on the actual controller as they're playing. And it's small enough to fit in a player's lap. And it's angled, it's thicker in the back, which makes it ideal for players who have to press buttons with their feet. There are 3 different mounting options alongside the back as well. And along the top, there's enough room for players to add things like labels. One of the smartest design aspects of the Xbox Adaptive Controller is the series of grooves that they've put above each one of the 19 3.5mm ports alongside the back of the controller. That means players don't have to crane their neck over the controller to see where to plug in their next device. The entire thing looks like an Xbox product, not a disability accessory. And that was entirely on purpose. The Xbox accessibility team started working on the controller about 3 years ago, and along the way they partnered with occupational therapy groups and nonprofits to build the controller that people with disabilities actually wanted and needed.
I was injured in a motorcycle accident. I resulted into a spinal cord injury. I lost the functions in my hands, and so then that was really one of the biggest things for me. Was I wasn't going to be able to game again. And I was finding all these devices out there, but they're incredibly expensive. And one of my buddies, who's also a vet, got in contact with Ken from More Engaged. And he helped develop a rig for me to get into gaming again. I didn't think a tech giant like Microsoft would even consider doing something like this for accessibility. And when I found out that it was happening, it was just this eye-opening moment, not just for me, but for all these other gamers that I know that, need something to adapt to besides using a regular controller.
This project signals Xbox's entrance into a new market. Developers promise this isn't a one-and-done product. They want to take advantage of a brand new ecosystem using the Xbox Adaptive Controller as the next evolution of the gamepad. The Xbox Adaptive Controller taps into a deeply underserved market in the video game industry. Groups like AbleGamers have been working for years to create custom, expensive, unique controllers for people with disabilities. But that's not a sustainable model. Not only does the new controller function as an accessibility controller, it looks like a real Xbox product, and it won't stand out in a negative way in anyone's living room. The Xbox Adaptive Controller will be available later this year for $100. And with this device, Microsoft is taking a huge step toward bringing video games to the 1 billion people around the world living with disabilities.